There are a staggering 30 MLS teams this season competing for the coveted MLS Cup. Many transfers, changes, and drama went down during the offseason. Today, we will give a brief overview of every MLS club heading into the 2025 season. Atlanta United comes into the new year with a new coach, Ronny Deila, who I know all too well, winning the 2021 MLS Cup with NYCFC. Ronny will have a lot of toys to play and tinker with this season, as record-breaking signing Emmanuel Latte-Lath and Atlanta United legend Miguel Almiron were both signed during the offseason. Their attack of Latte-Lath, Almiron, and Miranchuk may be the best in the league, and their supporting cast ain't too shabby as well. I predict a very decent finish for the Red and Black. Austin FC with one of the most dramatic transfer windows of all time, all due to one man, Sebastian Driussi. What can you say? Locker room cancer, prima donna, biggest letdown last season. Austin fans should thank the heavens that he is officially gone and has made the journey down to River Plate for a reported $10 million, which opened up an oh-so-valuable DP spot. Who filled this spot? That would be left winger Mierto Uzuni from Granada, who was bought for $12 million, and Brandon Vasquez, who was bought for a mind-blowing $9.6 million. If you ask me, or anyone for that matter, that's a giant overpay, and if these signings don't pan out, Austin will not go far. Also, did I forget to mention? Austin has a new coach, Nico Estevez, which again is one of several clubs that will have a new general leading the army this season. Charlotte FC with one of the most intriguing signings this offseason, and the one that I'm looking most forward to, Wilfred Zaha, who was brought in on loan from Galatasaray. Even with the departure of Swiderski to Panathinaikos, their attack still looks deadly. Dare I say it, even better than last season. The Goliath Patrick Agyemang in the middle with Zaha and Abada on the flanks, feeding him balls, is a scary sight to see. This new attack, paired with their already stellar defense, only letting in 37 goals last season, is the stuff that makes you think, maybe Charlotte does have a chance this year to host gold. Maybe I'm getting ahead of myself, but damn, they got a chance. Chicago Fire. They tried this offseason, and I'll give them that. For a franchise that couldn't care less these last couple of years, I have to clap my hands together that they actually did a couple of things before the season commences. One of the biggest signings this offseason, Jonathan Bamba, has joined the squad from Celta de Vigo for a reported $3.5 million. For those of you who don't know Bamba, he played a huge role in Lille winning the French League back in 2021 and was once valued at a crazy 25 million euros not too long ago. Even with this signing and defender Jack Elliott from the Philadelphia Union, new coach Greg Berhalter will have his hands full just to make the playoffs. The Colorado Rapids, what can I say? They had 3 months to make much needed changes to their squad, but all they did was acquire a super draft pick from Toronto. I'm honestly shocked they made the playoffs last year, and I would be even more shocked if they placed anything higher than third to last in the West this season. 10 years ago, this squad would be decent by MLS standards, having Navarro up top, Cole Bissett, and Georgi Mihailovic in the middle with Keegan Rosenberry, Reggie Cannon, Max So, and Awaziam in the back. But, by 2025 standards, this team is weak on all fronts. The franchise needs a new owner, or else this team will never win a cup again. Getting rid of your best player right before the season starts is never a good idea. But Columbus Crew did just that, and has no immediate replacement in mind to fill his place. Cucho Hernandez, the man that has carried the Crew for the last couple of seasons, has gone to Real Betis in La Liga for a measly $13 million. Don't get me wrong, the Crew will still have a formidable squad, but kiss that MLS Cup dream goodbye. Wilfred Nancy can only do so much with the cards in his hand, and eventually he will have to fold. DC United. Just looked at their squad on transfer market and fuck, it's looking bad. Their biggest acquisition the last couple of years was coach Troy Lesay, who has a very unaspiring managerial career to say the least. Benteke is their only hope if they want to make the playoffs this year, and even then, an MLS Cup will be impossible for the franchise. Benteke scored 23 goals last season, earning the Golden Boot, but this season he'll have to hit at least 30 for DC to be in playoff contention. Again, another club who has been coasting these last couple of years with no direction. Now, if you want to see a club coasting in the right direction, that would be FC Cincinnati. On paper, their roster is arguably the strongest in the league, and with the blockbuster swapperoo of Lucho for Evander, they can truly be cup contenders. From at one point being the worst team ever to now being one of the best, FC Cincinnati took all the proper steps to properly reconstruct their team. This offseason, they permanently signed breakout star Luca Orjana for a steal of $2.5 million, and signed 24-year-old Kevin Denke from Cercle Bruges for $15.3 million. Wow, statement signing. Pair this with arguably the best center back pairing in the league being Miles Robinson and former MLS Best Defender of the Year Matt Miazga, who will return later this season, and you have a winning recipe that even Gordon Ramsay would be proud of. FC Dallas is always a team that intrigues me, but this season it looks a little bit more bleak than years past. A lot more bleak. No one knows what they're doing or what they're up to, as they have sold 3 of their best players with no backup plan. Paul Arriola and Jesus Ferreira both traded to the Seattle Sounders, and Alan Velasco sold to Boca Juniors for $9.6 million. Now, I can't really blame them on the Velasco transfer, as that is a nice chunk of change, but getting rid of Jesus and Paul so casually is idiotic to say the least. On the bright side, they did sign former MLS MVP Lucho Acosta for $5 million, which will help that depleted midfield, but will it help enough? Paxton Pomykal will have to show up this season, as will Peter Musa, if they want to squeeze into the playoff picture. Houston Dynamo made one big blunder, but came back with thunder. Selling Coco Carrasquilla for only $3.4 million to Pumas is robbery, but signing Jack McGlynn for $2 million is as well. Placing 5th in the Western Conference last year was a huge accomplishment for Ben Olsen, and I think they will place there again this season as well. New signing Amin Bassi will surely help that O-core, and a full season of Ezekiel Ponce up front is a scary thought to think about. On paper, their D looks a little shaky, but who am I to say, as they only conceded 39 goals last season, the second best in the Western Conference. Inter Miami will be cup contenders, that goes without saying. Diego Gomez, Facundo Farias, and Leonardo Campana left during the offseason, but they already got replacements in Tadeo Ashende and Talasco Segovia. If Messi and Suarez stay healthy, this team could break the points record again, and most probably make a run for the MLS Cup, barring Brad Guzan doesn't stand in their way. Javier Mascherano will have a lot to work with in terms of money and players, more than any other coach in the league. Expect big signings to be made in the summer, as the Club World Cup is just around the corner, and this team will want to make a good impression on the world stage. The LA Galaxy, former MLS Cup champions, could go for the repeat this season. Other than the sale of Jovic to Sporting Kansas City and Marquis Delgado to rivals LAFC, their squad is roughly untouched. Promising signing Lucas Sanabria will make a direct impact in the midfield, and forwards Pansel and Peck are the 2 best in the league. Once Pooch heals from his ACL tear, which should be late in the 2025 season, this team will be right on track again to make some noise in the playoffs. Rivals LAFC are always consistently a threat, and this year is no different. Yes, the departure of Boguj and Omar Campos to Cruz Azul and Christian Oliveira to Gremio hurts, but the talent they have is more than enough to fill in these voids. Rumored loan signing Cengiz Under, who is still only 27 years old, will rejuvenate the attack and could become newcomer of the year. Olivier Giroud will most likely hit his stride, and Tennis Bwanga on the wing will make sure he will get the service that he deserves. Their D-core is solid, and Steve Cherundolo knows how to get this team to the finals, albeit he doesn't have the best track record at winning them. Minnesota United is a team that could turn a few heads. Eric Ramsey had a great first season with the Loons, and much of the squad that he had so much success with is still intact. Kelvin Yeboah will have a full season up top, and in my highly educated opinion, will have a top 5 finish in the Golden Boot race. Minnesota has one of the best atmospheres in the league, and their play on the pitch will be no different. Club de Foot Montreal have been on the wrong side of things for quite a while. Maybe new coach Laurent Courtois can turn around this club, but I highly doubt it. Not because I doubt his abilities as a coach, but because I doubt the players at his disposal. The new signing of Giacomo Veroni is just not enough, especially when Joseph Martinez is MIA. Their biggest signing was Jensele Sinchuk from Ukraine for $4.8 million, but the 18-year-old is still a little too green to make an impact for this franchise. Looking on the optimistic side, Caden Clark looked great at the tail end of the season, so hopefully for Montreal fans, this will continue in 2025. Nashville kept quiet this window. The only real noise they made in Music City was the signing of right back Andy Nahar, who quite frankly hasn't been very good for quite some time. It's no secret the team has been on the decline for the last couple of years, and Hani is one of their only real bright spots. It's a miracle that somehow Schalfenberg is still in Nash, as I think he is due for bigger and better things. Fans should be grateful that he is still there and fighting. For a team that prides themselves on their defense, it was quite poor last season. Captain Zimmerman will have to plug some leaks and be a wall in the back for them to get back on track. What's the biggest problem with the New England Revolution? Their defense. Have they done anything to fix this offseason? Not really. They did sign right back Elif Gold from Israel and center back Fofana from Amnia, but I don't think this will be nearly enough to fix their defensive woes. Leonardo Campana will help them on the offensive side of things, but their defense is still a big question mark. The departure of Esmir Bakhtarovic is a huge blow to the team. Langoni will have to step up in his presence and live up to his potential if the Revs want to make the playoffs. It's 50-50 if they will squeeze in or squeak out. The New Jersey Red Bulls have actually made some decent moves this offseason, much more than rivals NYCFC. Lewis Morgan signed a max TAM contract extension. Tim Parker has returned with the squad, and Choupo-Moting, although old as fuck, has arrived at the club as well. Now they have lost two very key players, being Dante Van Zier and John Tolkien, but all in all the team looks solid with a nice foundation. Emil Forsberg will be fully settled in this season, and if they somehow manage to snag Timo Werner, then they have jumped up into MLS Cup title contention as well. NYCFC, you have done nothing and have been a major disappointment this offseason. New coach Pascal Janssen has been thrown into a situation where he is bound to fail. The quality of players is just not there and is all but lost. James Sands, Jovan Mijatovic, and Tals Magno are all loaned out far away for the beginning of the season. Acevedo and promising young stud Christian McFarland were let go, and at the time of making this video, it seems all but certain that Santiago Rodriguez, NYCFC's best player, is gone as well. Maybe they were holding out to sign players for their 2027 stadium opening season. That is the only conclusion I can think of. Orlando City SC also lost their best player in Facundo Torres to Palmeiras for $11.5 million. They did sign DP Marco Pasalic to replace him, but Facundo is much better than Marco. Marco is at best a TAM player, not anywhere near DP quality. Orlando's offense will struggle this season, especially with Duncan Maguire being injured for the start. On paper, they look very mid, and will likely place mid-table this season. Philadelphia Union, what have you done? I've never seen a team get ransacked this bad up until this season. Jack McGlynn, Jack Elliott, and Leon Flack, all gone with no replacements in sight. Jim Curtin fired? The only reason Philly had any success these last couple of years was because of Jim and the academy. Their biggest problem is ownership, which refuses to spend money. And when academy player after academy player leaves to go abroad, you're left with nothing. Playoffs are certainly out of the question, even if the Sullivan brothers have the season of their lives. The Portland Timbers barely squeezed into the playoffs last year. This year they should find themselves comfortably in the top 6. Yes, MLS MVP nominee Evander is indeed gone, but new signing Kevin Kelsey, who was bought for $6 million, will still have plenty of opportunities to score goals up front. The Timbers management and FO has been shaky as of late, and tensions were high for quite some time during the offseason, but it seems as though the drama has simmered down now. If players can keep their head down and focus on the game, the Timbers will go far this season. Real Salt Lake surprised many last season, placing 3rd in the Western Conference. They're gonna have to surprise many this season if they want to make the playoffs. Their best player last season, Christian Arango, and electric winger Anderson Julio are both traded for pennies. Their goal production will inevitably take a severe dip this season, and Diego Luna, aka Big Balls, will have to carry the team. Pablo Mastroeni will have to pray to keep his job this season. St. Louis City SC looks more or less the same this season, except one big change, their coach, Olaf Mellberg. The Swedish manager has mainly coached Swedish clubs, but has made the move over the pond for the first time in his managerial career. He'll have a decent German attacking trio to work with, being Captain Edward Lowen, decently new acquisition Marcel Hartel, and Cedric Touchard. João Klaus is healthy coming into this season, and Roman Berkey has been a wall for the boys in pink. I think they have a real chance at making the playoffs this year. San Diego FC are the new kids in school, but will they eat at the cool kids lunch table? Hard to say. They will have a ton of momentum and buzz coming into this season, and have made some notable signings. Mexican international Irving Lozano will lead the way on the left flank, while Anders Dreyer will lead it on the right. Both are high-profile DPs that can score goals and create chances. Marcus Invertson is a big body up top, and the recent loan signing of Luca De La Torre makes this team even have more potential. Coach Mikey Varas is the only question mark I have. On paper, he has no top-flight experience and no professional playing career. For me, bad choice. The San Jose Earthquakes have a very familiar face at the helm, Bruce Arena. who has already made some smart moves this offseason. Former New England Revolution players Mark Anthony Kaye, Dave Romney, Ian Harkes, and Nick Lima were all added during the offseason, all of which were coached under Bruce Arena himself. Christian Arango and Joseph Martinez were both acquired as well, spicing up their offense greatly. When you integrate all these players to the pre-existing lineup, it actually doesn't look too bad. If Christian Espinoza and Hernan Lopez can stay with the squad all season, then maybe the Quakes can actually make the playoffs for the first time in a very, very, very long time. The Seattle Sounders have made great moves this offseason, which will bolster their already very formidable squad. Paul Arriola and Jesus Ferreira were both bought for essentially peanuts and will greatly enhance their offense. Pair these two beauties with Pedro de la Vega, Jordan Morris, and Albert Rusnak, and you're looking at a frightening top line. Their defense has always been strong, only conceding 35 goals last season, and essentially the entire defensive core has remained unchanged for this season. Seattle will have no excuses not to make the playoffs this year, and no excuses to go far in the playoffs. It's a shame that Sporting Kansas City has fell so hard these last couple of years after being so good for so long. This season they may have fell even faster. May signings and no ambition. Yes, Joveljic, as well as former Aris Solanke players Manu Garcia and Shapi Sulaimanov were added, but these players aren't nearly enough to make a playoff berth. Polito is gone, and now there will be even a bigger problem scoring goals up front. Also, how's Peter Vermes still manager? That's what I want to know. Toronto FC used to be a model club for every MLS team to base off of. Now they are a shadow of their former treble-winning selves. Lorenzo Insigne has been one of the biggest disappointments since joining MLS, and shows no signs of getting better. An annual salary of $7.5 million is laughable, and is the worst contract in the league. Bernadeschi playing wingback is alright, but his primary purpose was to play winger and create more offensive opportunities. The whole situation in Toronto is just a mess, and the new coach Robin Fraser will have to clean it up. I feel bad. And now, the last team in MLS while going in alphabetical order, the Vancouver Whitecaps. The Caps proved me wrong last season and played some beautiful football. Jesper Sorensen, who recently managed Brøndby, will take Vanni Sartini's place as the new head manager. Ryan Gold is one of the most underrated playmakers in the league, and if he can pair up with one of the most underrated finishers, Brian White, they will score goals galore. The defense is solid, with Veselinovic and Tristan Blackman in the back, and goaltending is not too shabby as well with Takaoka in net. Vancouver will make the playoffs this year, but an MLS Cup is highly unlikely. Well, those are all 30 teams. If you made it this far, please hit the like button, and cheers to the MLS 2025 season.